How do you sell your agency? That's what I'm talking about today on the Biz Chat. Hi, I'm Kyle Racky, and today I'm talking about how to sell your agency. So this is something that I did with my web design agency. My business partner and I, Kevin, ran this agency business for 5 years, and then we sold it to focus on Proposify, our software startup. It was a very arduous task. It was maybe one of the most challenging times as an entrepreneur. And so I made a lot of mistakes, we made a lot of mistakes, and I want you guys to learn from that in case you want to sell your agency one day. So why do you want to sell? Not everybody does. A lot of times people start agencies because they're a practitioner. They're somebody who's a designer or a developer or a marketer, and they want to run their own business and hire a team under them. But it's not something they really think about as, this is something that I want to sell down the road. And because of that, only a quarter of 1% of agencies in the last 25 years have actually been sold. Agency businesses are notoriously difficult to sell. There's a reason for that. I mean, you're basically selling other people's time, right? Your assets walk out the door every day at 6 o'clock. So what is a buyer actually buying, right? It's not like a product business or a distribution business or something where there's really something tangible, some intellectual property that they're buying. Really, it's there's more or less people's time that they're buying. So this is what makes it very difficult. Even if you don't think that you want to sell your agency business one day, if you treat it like it's an asset that you want to sell in the future, it'll actually make you run a better business today, right? So if you think about flipping homes, if you buy a house with the intention of flipping it, you're going to make different decisions than if you bought the house with the intention of living in it for the next 25 years. If you love that plaid paint on your walls, if you want to live in it, you don't care. You're gonna paint the walls however you like. If it's something that you want to flip in the future, well, you're going to make decisions in the interest of what's going to help me get the most money from this asset. Right? So thinking about your business in terms of how could I sell it one day is going to help you make better decisions, which will actually make it a more profitable business while you're running it. Okay? So let me give you some examples. What's your unfair advantage in your agency? A lot of agencies don't have one. They're a good web design company. They make great websites, or they're a marketing company. They get results for their clients. But there's nothing really that you could say that a million other agencies don't also say, right? So if you have an unfair advantage, that's different. It could be a focus on a particular vertical. Maybe you have years and years of experience in the automotive space or in the food and beverage space that you've doubled down and focused on for years. That's something that not other agencies can say they do. You may also have a focus on a horizontal, like you might be a HubSpot certified partner or a Shopify expert. And that's something where you could say, you have this specialty and this focus on this thing that not every other agency does. So if you've got something that's unique to you, that people from all over the world could potentially call your agency and come to you for this service because you're so well known for it, that's an unfair advantage. That's something that you can sell. Do you have repeatable formulas in your business? So oftentimes agency owners are the sole salesman or woman in their firm, right? They're the ones who brings in all the clients. So they can't really exit the business because if they go away for a couple of months, the whole company falls down. So somebody can't really buy it because they would need the owner there running it. So that's not what you want. Eventually you want to create systems and formulas and recipes. Like if you had a franchise, you wouldn't leave it to the cooks in every location to just cook the food however they want it. You would actually implement processes and recipes that they could repeat to get the same results. Think about your agency like that. How do you sell it? What's the big picture vision for your agency? And then what are all of the processes and steps that you can bring people in, train them up on the process, and then they can get the same result, right? So start thinking about that. Do you have a well-respected brand? Now, that's saying kind of a mouthful because some agencies have great brands when it comes to their work. They might have won a lot of industry awards. They've worked with big, well-respected, well-known names. There's those types of agencies. There's other ones where the founders maybe are considered authorities in the space. They've written books. They're speaking at big events. I mean, those are all different ways to build your agency's brand, but even if it's just being known within your specific niche, even if you're not an internet celebrity, you can still have a well-respected brand. That's something else that a potential buyer might look at. And finally, have you built up recurring revenue in your agency? If everything you're doing is a one-off project, then when a potential buyer comes in and looks at your client list, they know that that's going to turn over in a couple of months and they're going to go and need to sell new accounts. So there's not really a lot of value there. Whereas if there's recurring revenue, well, that's something you can scale. That's something you can build upon. So you've done all this stuff and now you have a saleable asset, an agency that somebody else can more or less turnkey come in, buy it, take it over and run it, and it still generates profit. So once you've done that, now it's time to start looking at potential buyers. I would say before you've done that, maybe a year before you even start looking at potential buyers, make sure that you've got your books in order, you haven't taken on any long-term loans or debts, you've built up enough cash in the business to last through the sales process. So just making good decisions, making sure your house is in order, doing all that kind of stuff. So you don't want to be in a position of desperation when you're ready to sell. And knowing that the process can take a long time, you also want to make sure that you can easily run the business and work on the sale without it affecting the profitability of your business. So when it's time to actually look at potential buyers, you can go to a broker. A brokerage, somebody that, they go and actually put your business on the market and talk to potential buyers, people who are in the market to buy an agency. A lot of people have had success with this approach. We had tried it in the past and didn't have as much success. Obviously, it depends on you. It depends on a lot of factors. You can work your network, which is what we ended up doing, just talking to people. It's a delicate thing to sell your business, especially if clients find out that you're selling your agency. They can get scared, they can go away and work with another agency. So you have to be very careful about who you talk to and how much you say. You don't want to be known as the agency that's on the market to sell. That's going to affect your price and a lot of other things. So making sure it's delicate. If you have somebody who comes in and wants to look at your business, make sure they sign a confidentiality agreement so that they're not sharing that with other people. When somebody comes in to look at your agency, they're not going to just come in and buy it, obviously. There's going to be a process behind it. So they're going to want to see balance sheets that are up to date. They're going to want to see what your accounts receivables looks like, what your KPIs or key performance indicators are at, like your utilization rate, for example, your close rate, different metrics that give them an idea of what it's like to step in and run your business, right? It's almost like taking the car for a test drive and seeing what all the different features are, just knowing what they're going to deal with. So that's what a potential buyer is going to want to look at. So finally, you've got somebody who's interested and ready to buy. They say they want to buy it. There's way more to it than that. The work has really just begun. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it can take still months, maybe even a year for the deal to go through. So you have to make sure that you've got the longevity, you've got the tenacity to kind of keep running your business and not let you get too downhearted. So when we were selling our business, the long stretch of time it took to actually sell it, we were really struggling to just keep the agency afloat, keep everybody employed, keep working on our startup. You don't want to be in that kind of desperate state. So what do you do? First of all, let's talk about valuation. So what is your agency actually worth? This is something that your buyer is going to ask and you're probably going to verbally agree on before the legal negotiations ever start. You can't just go and say it's worth $10 million because it means something to you. Obviously, there has to be some kind of objective price that you put on the agency. It's like valuing anything, right? Why is a watch worth what it is? Why is a car worth what it is? A lot of it depends on market factors, how much similar cars are going for in that area, what value does it have to the buyer? There's all those things that you look at when you're putting a value on a business or putting a value on anything. So you'll have to look at that for your agency. Obviously, you'll have a number in mind that you want. It's always good to kind of let the buyer show their cards first. Once you've agreed on a price, now it's time to start the legal process. So you'll have a lawyer on your side, they'll have a lawyer, and now you're just agreeing and negotiating on terms. So what are some things to watch out for? So if you've hired a lawyer, you want to make sure that you not only get a good lawyer, but also one that's willing to work with you and see the big picture. Sometimes you get a lawyer that's almost too good at their job, and they're trying to catch any potential issue that might arise down the road. They're trying to be too diligent, and what they're actually doing is they're pushing back to the other lawyer, waiting days or weeks for them to get back to you, and they're really just slowing the deal down from taking place. That's a huge pitfall that you can fall into. So make sure you tell your lawyer, I want the deal to happen. Obviously, I can't be protected in every possible scenario, so let's just focus on the big issues and not try to overthink it. And then finally, you're going to want to make sure that you don't agree to any long-term payouts where the buyer can leave you on the hook after 3 years. If certain performance milestones aren't met, then they don't pay you as much money, or they don't pay you any money. That's something you don't want to get into. As soon as you're not operating the business anymore, you don't really have control over how well the business does. So you don't want to have the actual sale tied to any of that stuff. So you want to get paid immediately after the deal goes through. You also don't want to get paid in shares, right? It's another way that the buyer can potentially renege on the deal if they figure the business isn't working out for them and it's not what they thought it was going to be. So if that's the way they want to do it, I would rather just keep running the business and be in control of my own destiny. Hopefully those tips are helpful. Remember that even if you don't want to sell today, if you think about selling one day and think about what you need to do in order to make that sale happen, it's actually going to help you implement processes that make you run your business better today and make it more profitable today. I hope those tips were really helpful. If you want more of them, be sure to sign up to our email list and get 2 new posts a week. I'd appreciate it if you share and leave a comment and let me know what you think. And I will see you next week.